Hello, people, and welcome to the first episode of Women Off the Clock. This is a new podcast that we thought was very much needed, where we're going to talk about everything running a business as a female founder. Why did we start? How is it going? The really good things, but also the not so good things about starting and running a business as a woman who often has to manage family life and offsprings and other things, and sometimes neurodiversity, lots of other interesting challenges. So today we are here with Lottie.
Hello. Hi.
Lottie runs a business called Somatic Hypnotherapy. And I will not explain to you what that is because we've got her here to do it. Do you want to tell us a bit about you?
Yeah, of course. So Lottie B Somatic Hypnotherapy. So people have probably heard of hypnotherapy before and they might have mixed feelings about that. But hypnotherapy just really means an intense focus on a particular area that you want to work on with intent. And then somatic means the body. So with somatic hypnotherapy, we focus our intent and our intention in the body, and we work with the subconscious that's constantly running in our body to figure out maybe what's going on, any blockages, how we can move forward. If you think about the unconscious, like you don't think every time you take a breath, you don't think when you chew or you swallow. That's the part of us that we're working with, those sort of automatic processes, and sometimes they're not the healthiest. I know for me, mine's just automatically going for the chocolate when I've had a bad day. So it's that, these little things that we can work on when we're ready, and we want to stop those. This is just a really great process to do.
And how it's a very niche kind of practice. So how did you get into it? Was it always an idea to run a business with it, or did you start as a hobby? Or
so it was like many people who started a business. It was the COVID lockdowns. It was 2020. My background was in participation and research, and so that was giving people that don't usually get a voice and a platform to share their stories, to share what was going on. And I really enjoyed that work, but it got to a point where it didn't feel enough, particularly in COVID. I'd offer this platform, I'd write the reports, I'd give it to the people that needed to read it, but it just wasn't enough. And so what I wanted at that time was to be on the ground. I wanted to be on the front lines in some way, able to offer support. I, in that time, retrained as a hypnotherapist, which is where I did that. Then on my own personal journey, I came across somatic work and somatic therapy. I was that as a client. I then went and trained in it because I found it so helpful and really groundbreaking. So that's how it happened. I sort of went through that process myself, got so much from it that I thought the world needs this right now more than ever. So retrained, and then I set up the somatic hypnotherapy in 2022. So it was a nice little journey.
It's quite a journey, even before starting. Did you find it easy to start?
It was overwhelming to begin with. It was really overwhelming because obviously when you like this, I've got a service to offer, and the service I'm really confident in offering, but the other things like making sure all the paperwork, making sure the insurance, making sure bookkeeping is something I really struggle with. So it was really overwhelming to begin with, and the advice at the time was written, and I'm neurodiverse and I really struggle with written information. So for a time it was really overwhelming, and particularly in that sort of early period where lockdowns were still happening and it was difficult to connect with people. But I was really lucky. Once I got my foot in the door and connected with, I think it was the local council first, and they offered me so much support in terms of training, business startup schools. And when I started to meet the people and be in these spaces, the support honestly was amazing. It was so good. And through my neurodiversity, I've then been able to get access to work, which has given me loads of extra support. So that has just been amazing.
I agree. And sometimes I think maybe, especially as women, we forget that we don't have to run the show by ourselves. It's not, we have to do it all. We have to be good at everything. We offer services. This is what we're really good at. And then if marketing and sales don't come natural, and admin, for example. So for me, for example, sales or marketing or showing up is never a problem, but put me in front of a pile of admin pieces of paper and I am just going to do everything I can to avoid it. It's like my avoidance will come on and I'll just go, I'll do a washing. I'll iron on those 3,000 piles of ironing I've got in the back room, because it's not my thing, and it doesn't have to be. No, if we were all good in everything, we wouldn't need all the businesses to help us, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So what other things you really like about running a business, and what other things you would delete off the Facebook?
The autonomy, obviously, I think is everyone's top. I'm making assumptions there, but I would say having that autonomy to booking clients around parenting, around, if my son's school plays on, I can make sure that I can get to things like that. Quality of life is really important. Being able to deliver what I deliver as well, it's still considered a holistic therapy. I see it as therapeutic, but it's difficult to get paid employment in the exact intervention that I provide. So being able to do what I want in the way that I think it's most effective is really important. And I think I deliver my sessions online as well, and being able to just get to work, turn the laptop on, close it and get on with whatever else needs doing is massive, because that travel and transition time that I used to do on the daily commute, I just can't imagine going back to that now. It takes so much out of you that I've got so much more energy now.
I agree. You touched on work-life balance. I know we as business owners, we all say we started for work-life balance, and the reality is that the vast majority of us spend the first couple of years of, from launching to actually growing and taking the business to a place where the business can run. We actually spend every hour that God sends on earth actually working in hours and days where we shouldn't, and things like that. I know this was the case for me. I don't know if it was for you.
Yeah, it has been. But I think it's more of a flexibility. So rather than you've got to be here 9 to 5, it's maybe I've got a client at 8 a.m. and then I have a break, and then I go back and I work until midnight, because I might have clients in Australia, Canada, different time zone. So it is on your mind 24/7, and there's stuff to do 24/7. But there's more of a flexibility, and if you like me, I just love doing what I do. I get such a kick from it that I don't feel drained at the end of the day either. I feel really energized by it, and that's not always. I'm not saying like it's all roses. There are difficult times and difficult days, but I think if it's something your heart is really in, then you don't mind. Isn't it?
And what would be the things that you would delete off running a business?
Oh God, admin. Anything to do with a spreadsheet. I just despise it. I despise having to do that. Social media as well. I don't like that it's become a standardized part of running a business. It's not. I don't run mine anymore. Someone else takes control of that, because it was becoming so draining, and all my energy was going on to thinking about the right social media post, when actually the majority of my clients come from word of mouth or networking or being out in the community. And so it didn't deserve the amount of energy I was giving it, I don't think.
I agree.
And I think I do struggle a little bit still with the uncertainty month for month, and when you're having that great month and you think it's great, it's just a straight line trajectory, and then you go, oh no, actually it's not now. And that can still be a bit on edge, but I have maintained a small part-time employee position, just so I've always got that foundation. And for me, that suits my nervous system really well.
Absolutely.
I've got my partner self-employed, and he's got the other thing. He feels really restricted in paid employment, and really that upsets his nervous system. So I think it's just about finding what works
for you. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also about not thinking everything is necessary, as you said about social media. I mean, I know we do live in a world where you need a presence and things like that, but listening to experts and to people who, for example, set up the business on TikTok or on Instagram, and now they've got this gigantic business. If you listen to that kind of people, it sounds as if you have to spend 24 hours a day doing videos for TikTok, because otherwise you're not going to sell anything. And I also think that we, as service providers, so there is a rule in sales that says you should spend 20% of your time producing your service or product and 80% of your time selling it. And I think, I mean, I agree that we can never stop selling, because otherwise we get into those months that you were saying, you know, it was perfect last month. What happened this month? I've got one client. But our services also need time to be changed and worked on, and that needs time.
Yeah.
And if we put this into raising humans and having cats and having actually a private life and whatever else for you, you've got your part-time job and things like that. Sometimes you just think, where is the time to do all of this? Do you find that time has been a struggle for you running this business or growing the business? Or
time is always a struggle for me, because I'm neurodiverse and I struggle with time blindness and I struggle with executive functioning, and so I don't often see it as a problem, because I just focus on the stuff that I enjoy, which is very neurodivergent. But I definitely have got a pile of washing that needs doing. And those more day-to-day practical things for me tend to be the stuff that gets left at the bottom of the to-do list rather than integrated into that.
And on the other hand, if you think about it, and I'm really sorry, men listening to this, the working society is built for men. It's built for people who would go to work but then wouldn't have to go home and do the washing. They wouldn't have to go home and nurture the children. Or it's built because before we all went completely mad and decided that working was something we were going to do 12 hours a day, life had blocks, isn't it? You'd go to work, but then you'd come home and you'd have time to be home. But also, whilst you were at work, someone at home. And it could be the woman, or it could be that society was structured in networks of people who could help. Neighbors would help. Parents would never be that far away. And it was structured completely in another way. Now we're like islands, isn't it? So you're doing this, but you're at the same time, you're expected. And the worst thing is not that you're expected, but you expect yourself to be able to do all of these things well. And when you don't, it throws you into this fit of, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough as a mother. I'm not good enough as a professional. What will my clients think? And things like that. And then in reality, I don't think there is a person who can do it all well. And we all kind of try, but there will always be something that gets left behind, because I can't possibly run the business, be an effective mother, service my clients well, and not having an ironing pile. It's like impossible. Where's the time for it? And I think sometimes we think we should be this version of better, that it's only in our head, really, because other people don't perceive that. Other people will never go, oh, you know, Fran, you're servicing all these clients and they're having all these results, but what about your ironing pile? It's like, no one has ever said that to me, and I doubt someone is even thinking about it. But do you find this is the case for you when maybe you're really busy and there's something on the mum side of things and then something else on the personal side of life crops up? Do you think this is something that you find easy, or?
No, it's always difficult because I feel like my days are so jam-packed, there isn't much room. And so then if something unexpected comes up, it can throw so much off. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think I grew up with that messaging, which was amazing. That was women can do anything, women can be equal. And it was such a great way to be brought up. But I think I then missed a bit where they were like, but also it's harder because there's still this labour expected of you that I just missed until I became an adult. And then I was like, oh right, I see this now. Yeah, what the hell? I mean, I'm very grateful. I've got an amazing partner who he is just a great, like, he enjoys cleaning. That's when he meditates. So quite often I will find him, he's like, oh, I've just tidied all this stuff up, which I've been thinking about all day and thinking, oh God, that needs doing. It's so heavy on my heart. Yeah, he's just done it. So he's a superstar. Well, I think it's that as well. I think finding the people around you, like you said, previously it would have been a community, but it's finding your own community of people who support you with the things that you're not great at. Like my mum is the opposite. We're so opposite, and she loves admin. She's so type A, she's so organised. So there are times when I can say to her, I'm really struggling with this, and she'll really enjoy the thing that I'm struggling with. So you know, I have got family members, and then I've got yourself as an amazing coach for ADHD. I've got as I said, I've got people that do my social media. So I've managed to create these people around me that are great at what they do, enjoy it. You know, it doesn't weigh heavy on them as it does me. And they can go and do it. And I think anyone starting a business, find your tribe, find your people.
And I think what you said before is also very important. Like, there are people who just jump, isn't it, into, they just go, that's it, no more work, no more employed work. I don't want to see an employer ever again. And they just jump. And there are people who just go, no, I am not comfortable with that. I need to know someone is coming in every month, and then I can grow my business. And that's a really important. I jumped because I had to. My son had been excluded from school. We were going to tribunal against the local authority. So it was a bit blah, blah, blah. But for my nervous system, it would have probably been better for me to know that there was a steady income guaranteed for a while. I was really lucky, and my ex-employer just went, oh, we'll keep you as a consultant. So it was kind of that. But then when that certainty went away, it was a real struggle for me. So I think that's a really important thing you said. People thinking of starting a business should start thinking from there, from, am I the right person to just jump? Or, you know, can I eat rice for 3 months if no clients come on board? And what's my plan B?
And as a parent, it's really difficult to do that as well. I think if you don't have that as a responsibility, you do have a bit of freedom to think, oh, well, I could just fall back on something and you can't just eat rice. But when you're thinking, well, I could do that, but, you know, my son has got a specific diet. He's expecting a certain amount of food. He's got after school clubs that I need to pay for. So these are the sort of things that I want to make sure that's there for him. You know, they're the sort of stuff that is really important. I can go without certain things whilst this is building, but he needs this stuff. And I don't know, again, probably a mass generalisation that I get a lot of male business coaches that are very like, if you have a plan B, then you won't do it. You won't be motivated enough if there's a plan B, if you've got something to fall back on. And I heard that messaging quite a lot when I first started out. And I was really doubting myself and my own, like, well, actually, that doesn't motivate me. It seems really frightening. And I don't get motivated by fear. I don't get motivated. Like, I couldn't be doing with a personal trainer that was shouting at me. Like, they need to be gentle. I have a gentle soul. So that's what I needed. And I knew for me. But the messaging out there was very harsh when I first started.
And it is very, you know, the 5 a.m. club. You need to wake up and do this and train 1 hour before you start working. And And don't get me wrong, I am the 5 a.m. club, but I am that naturally. I am not. I didn't have to force myself to do it. It's a different thing. And I can see the benefits. And I know that if I do it in the morning, then I don't have to think about training anymore during the day. So for me, for how my brain works, having the anxiety that I need to fit in the training during the day would be worse. But as you say, if you're not the 5 a.m. club, you're not. And
it's being in flow, I think, with what your natural rhythm is. As I will occasionally have a really early client, but quite often mine's later in the day, and I'll have a slow wake up, and then I'll sort of do an exercise, maybe the lunchtime, bit of yoga or Tai Chi, and then and I prefer evenings. So it's finding that rhythm to where you're at, really, rather than pushing yourself to fit in. And I remember I went to a networking just before Christmas, and there was someone talking about being at another networking event, and they were very like this, and it was very structured and routine. And this guy was really boasting that he'd worked 100 hours that week. And this guy was like, why boasting about that? Like, he was like, I don't understand the logic. He was like, I worked like a standard full week, and I also went and played golf, and I also had this time with my kids. And he was like, that's what I want to boast about.
But sometimes it's that I used to work in events before moving to England, and I worked in events after I moved too. I was a senior manager in events, and one of the rules we had a really, really big client, fashion brand, and one of the rules was if he calls you at 3 a.m. you pick up. And I remember, it was an incredible client. I will be forever grateful for having worked on that account, because everything I learned about organizing events and being on stages and, managing over 4,000 people, I learned there. So I will be forever grateful. And I was fine doing it because for me, that was work. That was how work worked. But if I think about it now, now I have two phones, and at 6 p.m. my work phone goes off, and I do not look at it until I land at my desk the day after. It's always with me, because there are some clients who do have emergencies and they know they can call me. And if I think about that life now, it's just, I don't even know how I did it, because I am not a person who stays up at night. I'd go to bed at 8 if I could. If I lived in a cave, 8 p.m. I'd be in bed. So for me, doing that was like pushing way out of what is my natural rhythm. But I did it because this was what was required of me. And I think that's one good thing about running my own business, the fact that no one can force me to have a call at 8 p.m. if I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But so if anyone is listening or watching and they are thinking to start a business similar to yours, so personal growth or even therapy, or what would be one top tip and one thing that you'd warn them against?
I think, definitely finding your group of people that support you in the ways that you need is top for anyone doing a business. In terms of therapeutic business, definitely being really on top of your own personal care. You can only provide for the client what you've got to give. So, you need to be on top of that for yourself. Make sure you're having regular supervision, your own therapy. That's really important. And then in terms of, what was it? Like something to look out for?
Warn them against.
Again, I think if it's therapeutic, make sure you check in with yourself when you get a client. You can get some people that maybe aren't the right people, and you just want to take it because it's your client and you want to take it. I had that early on. And they just were not the right fit for that particular type of therapy, and it would have been unsafe to continue, really, and unsafe for me to have them in that space. So be really mindful. Don't just take every client that appears. Make sure you're really tapping into your gut feeling, your gut sense on them, and just keep an eye out for that sort of outdated rhetoric. I think that working for yourself, that you need to take every client and it's all about the money and it's all about the effort you put in, and just be more mindful, I think, and more grounded, and take the steps that are in alignment. It's not about not challenging yourself. You know, there's places where you can go, okay, I can push myself out my comfort zone and challenge myself, but don't get drawn into something and try and follow old, well-worn paths if they're just not for you. Because they're not going to work. It's not going to work. It's only going to work when you're doing it in that alignment with yourself.
I agree. Listen, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, all your details are going to be at the end, but if someone is thinking of reaching out because they want to chat, they want to try somatic hypnotherapy, or they just want to see how it works, etc., where do they find you?
So Instagram is probably the main place. Lottie B Somatic Hypnotherapy. There's a website under the same name. The email is on all those places, so you can email me before I try and spell that out. I think those. I am on a few. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, but I don't tend to access those as much.
Okay.
Throughout the year, I tend to do a few free or very cheap to access webinars that tell you a bit more about it and how it works. My prices I keep really low because I just want this work to go to as many people as possible. And again, that's the joy of being able to keep a bit of a side business. You know, I didn't want my clients to be my next meal. I want to be able to show up, you know. So the reasonable prices, and I've just added a few more services that are a bit more holistic, that I did previous to this, and I sort of stepped away from to be just the hypnotherapy. But I've got a bit of Reiki and a bit of shamanic stuff on there now as well.
Nice.
So that's been really exciting to just bring myself back in a bit more to the services.
Amazing. So listen, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you very soon with another amazing guest. See you soon.
Bye.